So what I'd like to talk about today is a trend that we see in music and technology, and it's kind of a large one, so we'll inevitably fail at explaining it with any reasonable sanity. But I hope that you walk away from it with some interesting thoughts about how music can be made and how you can experience music. My brother and I are both doctoral students researching topics in network music. Network music is something I imagine that most of you have not heard of. Can anyone raise their hand if they've actually heard of network music before? Wow, okay, I'm actually surprised. Well, you don't count. Okay, so network music has been around for about 30 years, and it's a growing field of musicians that take computers and connect them together in various ways to make a new kind of performance medium. This is a picture of the League of Automatic Music Composers, which are the progenitors of this approach. They started way back in 1978, taking very, very simple computers and connecting them with all of these components. You can see this mess of tangle on there. So it has some history to it, but it's also quite new. Now, network music, I think, is actually just part of a larger trend in music where actually technology is expanding what it means to even have a performance and what it means to write music.
So people want to share ideas. That's a natural human inclination. We want to propagate our ideas, we want to preserve them, and we want to spread them. In music, we've come up with several different technologies to accomplish that. So the first technology, if you will, that people came up with to do that was actually orally teaching people the music that they knew. So one individual teaching another individual the songs that they either heard from somebody else or made themselves. And these became folk melodies. So that was the first way of spreading musical ideas. After that, there was a new technology that came about, musical notation. So musical notation started off very primitive and evolved into a fine art of symbology that can actually instruct rather precisely the exact gestures required for a musician to reproduce a specific piece of music. So even though Bach, Beethoven, Mozart are dead, have been dead for quite a long time, and they wrote music in a far-off place, we can still perform their pieces today, which is kind of amazing. However, that technology, if you will, is rather imperfect, right? It's inherently subjective. So when Beethoven says to play a passage of music loudly, who's to say that you're playing it as loudly as he intended? I personally think you should play it very loudly. That's just me. However, eventually there came something else that really changed all of that, changed everything, and that is the technology of audio recording. The ability to take a specific moment of time and actually capture it and replay it back later. This is not simply just the gestures that are required to reproduce a performance. This is the actual performance itself. So you can go to YouTube, and instead of seeing a performance of some other individual perform John Coltrane solos, you can see a video of John Coltrane himself play his virtuosic saxophone solos. So that really kind of blurs things even more. So now this idea of what is past and present is starting to blur. There are other things that recording technologies can blur, such as your whole perception of what is real and the conception of reality itself. So an example of this is music performance. It used to be that if you wanted to perform a piece of music, you had to find a skilled set of musicians to perform with. You had to laboriously rehearse, and then you had to give a concert with a unique performance for every time you did that piece. However, nowadays, it's completely possible for an individual, such as a pop singer, to go to a concert and pantomime a performance to a recorded version of their piece, or perhaps have large sections of the music be pre-recorded. And in fact, that recording itself isn't even a performance. It's strung together of multiple kind of micro-performances. And in fact, there could have never even been a single point in time where a person has sung that entire piece from beginning to end. And audiences can be completely oblivious to this. Oblivious to the fact that it's essentially fictional. So audio recording has now bent how we perceive the reality of music. of course, technology is pushing ever forward way beyond audio recording. Nowadays, we're getting into things such as holographic projection. This is the big hot new thing that's happened. And this allows individuals who are not only living individuals to perform, but individuals who are deceased can perform. Individuals who don't exist at all can perform. For instance, Tupac Shakur's latest performance. So Tupac is no longer with us, but he can still give a slammin' performance, which audiences really loved. Also, there's...
As a hologram.
Yeah, as a hologram.
At Coachella.
Yes. As well, there's a singer in Japan by the name of Hatsune Miku.
Oh, that one.
This singer is actually completely fictional. The voice itself is even synthesized. The presence on the stage is synthesized, but she has legions of loyal fans, right? So music technology is really changing music performance.
Okay, so a small story, TED's about stories, right? It's a bit embarrassing, so bear with me here. Okay. This is us at Christmas. We're 13 years old. Our parents finally get us the guitars that we've always wanted. And we were excited. I mean, really, really excited. And we fell in love with music. We played music all the time, hours a day, every day. We had several bands together that we played with. We'd play all these shows. We both went to the same school for our bachelor's degree in music composition. And then we both moved to California together to go to Mills College to study there in music together. But Curtis, feeling all cool, decided to move to England to work on a PhD. And for the first time, we were suddenly thousands of miles apart. But why should thousands of miles ever stop anybody from playing music together? And while we were at Mills College, we studied with John Bischoff and Chris Brown, who are two pioneers of network music. And they showed us and taught us ways to use computers that can connect to each other and make music where it isn't necessary that people be in the same space. However, it's more than just bridging large spaces. It's also about connecting people at a fundamental level where you can't with an ordinary instrument. So it's about connection of people. And we're not the only people that do this. It's, like I said, it has 30 years of history. There are many people, such as The Hub, the YouTube Symphony Orchestra, PowerBooks Unplug, and there's an infinite number of laptop orchestras at various schools with acronyms such as PLORC that do this kind of music. They're using ingenuity and technology to connect together and make new kinds of music.
Which brings us why we're here today. We're actually going to give a performance for you. If all goes well with the internet, we'll be joined by at least one individual from the United States, our band member Cole Ingram. If all goes especially well, we might be joined by another band member, Ben O'Brien, who just got off a plane. We'll see if he makes it or not. We're part of a band called Glitch Lich, an intercontinental laptop quartet. The performance we'll be giving to you uses custom program software that we made ourselves. It's made with C++, OpenGL, SuperCollider, and other things. And it's essentially a way for us to collaborate with each other, to not only play with each other across different distances, but also to affect each other's musical output and to share musical ideas in real time in ways that actually aren't possible with acoustic instruments.
Okay. Now that we've shown you that music can transcend space and time, it can also transcend reality, right? Because of holograms. So
cats.
this is music transcending space, time, and reality, if you were unsure. It's a cat on a synthesizer. Anyways, point is, this music or this technology has a long ways to go. But I think you can start to see that whenever holograms are starting to make music, whenever it doesn't matter if you're in the same room as somebody, whenever you're making music, there's some serious potential here. And I think there's going to be some very interesting things in the future as far as what's going to be available and possible for musicians. Thank you very much for listening to us. We're going to hopefully do a performance for you.